In early November of 1997, a child psychologist in Maine contacted authorities after a series of strange sessions with one of his patients. The patient spoke about an imaginary friend named Mr. Smile, which concerned the psychologist and the boy's parents. During their sessions, the boy spoke about Mr. Smile at length, describing him as always smiling and bringing happiness wherever he went. Despite being treated for anger and depression issues, the boy said that Mr. Smile made all of his negative feelings disappear and made him feel calm and safe. Mr. Smile never spoke, but he would stand at the foot of the boy's bed, emitting a candy floss scent. The boy named him Mr. Smile because of his constant smile and the joy he brought. Initially, the psychologist believed that the boy's imaginary friend was simply a coping mechanism that he had developed to deal with the issues at home that had caused his violent temper. However, his perception changed when he began to hear about Mr. Smile from other patients. A 9-year-old girl mentioned having an imaginary friend named Mr. Smile, followed by a 7-year-old boy, a 12-year-old boy, and an 11-year-old girl. The psychologist became increasingly concerned as more and more patients spoke about this same imaginary figure. Nearly 15 patients in total began to discuss Mr. Smile with the psychologist. Initially, he believed it was a coincidence, as many children have imaginary friends. The name and description of Mr. Smile were generic enough that it didn't raise any major concerns at first. However, as more and more patients described Mr. Smile in the exact same way, using the same words, the psychologist became increasingly worried. He requested more details from each patient, but all of them provided identical descriptions. It became apparent that the children couldn't have been in contact with each other. For example, 5 of the children were currently being homeschooled and rarely left the house except for shopping trips with their parents. They couldn't have rehearsed or prepared their statements together. As a result, the psychologist arrived at a deeply unsettling conclusion. The psychologist spoke individually with the parents of each child in private. While avoiding revealing too much information, he informed them that multiple patients had discussed something troubling during their sessions, and he believed that their child may be at risk. He requested permission to discuss the matter with the authorities, and the parents consented on the condition that they were kept informed of any developments. In the following week, the police interviewed the children regarding their imaginary friend. They asked for details about Mr. Smile's appearance, which the children were unable to describe apart from his smile, and that he was not like them. The authorities inquired about how he gained entry into their homes and if he had said or done anything while there. At this point, the psychiatrist, parents, and police all believed that Mr. Smile was a real and dangerous individual. The authorities confirmed that no known predators resided in the area. Nonetheless, it was evident that Mr. Smile was an actual person who had been sneaking into the children's homes at night. The children were unable to explain how Mr. Smile gained access to their homes, claiming that they would wake up to find him at the foot of their bed. On occasion, they mentioned that he would sing a lullaby that sounded unfamiliar and made them feel secure. When asked to depict Mr. Smile, the children were unable to describe his appearance in words. However, they all picked up a red crayon and covered the entire page, resulting in a rectangular sheet of red. When questioned about their artwork, they confidently asserted that they had drawn Mr. Smile, including his head, arms, and legs. They became agitated when informed that they had simply colored in the page and accused of lying, insisting that they had drawn a perfect likeness of the man they had seen. The psychiatrist had a hunch, so he showed one of the red rectangles to the different children and asked them what it was, without giving any information about the drawing or who had made it. Surprisingly, each one of them, unaware of the existence of the other children who had been interviewed, said that it was a picture of Mr. Smile. To keep the children safe, Cameras and baby monitors were installed in their rooms to monitor them at night. Some parents resorted to staying awake all night to watch the screens. However, there was no evidence of anyone entering or leaving the room during the night, and the only sounds picked up by the monitors were the children snoring or occasional talking in their sleep. Mr. Smile was nowhere to be seen. After nearly 2 weeks of surveillance, many began to doubt the existence of Mr. Smile. Some other mental health professionals suggested that it might be a shared delusion among the children, which had no basis in reality. They theorized that perhaps the children had seen something on TV or in a movie that led them to imagine something similar. However, everything changed when one of the boys disappeared. At around 2 a.m., the camera in his room had stopped working. When his mother rushed to check on him, she found his room empty. She had only left for a moment, and it was impossible for the boy to have left the room during that time. There was no sign of forced entry or exit, and the windows were all locked. The only thing that she could smell was a sweet cotton candy scent that lingered in the air. The boy's disappearance remained a mystery despite extensive searches yielding no clues. Soon after, more children began to vanish until only 4 were left. These remaining children spoke of Mr. Smile's plans to take them away with his smiling friends to a happy place where everything was beautiful. They claimed that Mr. Smile communicated with them through their thoughts and showed them mental images of this place. As the situation grew more dire, the authorities and parents became desperate to find any information that could lead to the missing children's whereabouts. The psychiatrist who had spoken with the children earlier was consulted again, and he suggested that the happy place might be a form of escapism that the children had created to deal with their fears and anxieties. Despite this, the remaining children remained adamant about Mr. Smile's existence and his plans for them. The police set up a watch on their homes, but one night they too disappeared without a trace. The investigation continued, but no evidence was ever found to explain the disappearances, and the case remains open to this day. The situation took a turn for the worse as the children's condition deteriorated rapidly. Within a few weeks, they reported headaches and nausea, and their schools noted that they were experiencing hallucinations. 2 of them even claimed that they no longer enjoyed the place that Mr. Smile was showing them. One child had a prolonged screaming fit, pleading for the colors to stop, saying that they were horrible and needed to go away. Another child confided in the psychiatrist that Mr. Smile was now constantly talking to them in their head, saying terrible things that they couldn't speak about, as their parents would find out too. The psychiatrist convinced one of the boys to write down what Mr. Smile was saying, promising to keep it a secret. The contents of the book remain unknown, and those involved refuse to discuss it, changing the topic as soon as it is mentioned. The children's behavior became increasingly concerning as they stopped sleeping and stared at the walls with unblinking eyes, unresponsive to sedatives. One of the girls began cutting strange circular marks on her skin, while 2 of the boys stopped speaking English and spoke in an unknown language that could not be identified or translated by experts. Eventually, by the beginning of 1999, all 4 children disappeared without a trace. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no evidence was found to suggest who or what may have taken them, and their whereabouts or fate remains unknown to this day. Even with extensive searches, no evidence was found to suggest who might have taken the children or where they might be. To this day, it remains a mystery whether they are still alive or not. No suspects have been identified, and all the missing children, including the 4 who vanished in 1999, seem to have disappeared into thin air without a trace. The unexplained nature of their disappearances has left many wondering what really happened to them.